The $500,000 extensions to the Lands Office in East Maitland will provide welcome space for the workers. With meticulous attention to detail, the building appears to come from the same era as the original, which was built in 1885. But once you venture inside, it becomes obvious that the structure is very much of this century. The building was opened by the Minister for Natural Resources, John Aquilina.
The department first opened the Lands Office in East Maitland in 1885. The present building was erected in 1897 and is itself an excellent example of late Victorian public structure. Who would have dreamt in 1885 that the world would develop such advanced technological improvements as we have today, and that our modern Lands Office would be making use of such sophisticated facilities as we have in this present office.
The Minister also took the opportunity to launch the Central Mapping Authority street directory of the Hunter region. Police Association spokesman Sergeant Peter Ranforth says there's a shortage of 16 police in the Newcastle district, and he says the situation doesn't look like getting any better.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
President of the Chamber, Laurie Molyneux, says the 160,000 air commuters annually between Newcastle and Sydney would be severely disadvantaged if services are restricted at or moved from Mascot.
Also, the facilities are jam-packed. The passenger terminals, the customs, the freight forwarding, all those facilities are at full stretch now. But what we're saying is whether a new airport goes to Badgerys Creek or not doesn't relieve the present stress on Mascot.
Newcastle has two main commuter services, 13 return flights a day from Aero Pelican and 8 from the civil airport at Williamtown. Aero Pelican presently moves 2,000 people every week, according to General Manager Trevor England.
The present situation is that we have 182 movements per week into and out of Sydney, and we're getting 5, 6, 7, 10-minute delays, 20-minute delays at times, and whatever is done to improve that we would certainly be in favour of.
It's doing the pushing.
The Chamber is adamant that regardless of any plans for a second airport for Sydney, Mascot is desperately in need of upgrading.
And that basically is
politics
the problem.
Stands in the way.
The voters around Mascot, of course, are naturally upset at the prospect of an improvement there, and they think more traffic and noise, probably quite rightly, and the politicians don't want to lose votes, and that's pretty normal too. But somehow, someday, somebody's got to bite that bullet.
At the main office of Port Waratah Coal Services, the organisers of the contest voted the computer game a great success. The game was the idea of the Newcastle Coal Export Review Committee, which wanted a promotion that would show the complexity of our local coal industry. 3 senior students at Lambton High, Robert Beath, Bruce Campbell and Bill McGovern, were assigned the task of translating it all into a game that could be played by the public at the Newcastle and Maitland shows. As they explained to the chairman of the committee, Rod Harrison, the aim is to transport enough coal to the 3 loaders to fill all the ships. A lot of random problems, like derailments and loader failure, can get in the way. However, the game does not account for industrial action. According to the Whiz Kids, designing the program was only a small part of 4 weeks' hard work.
Very, very hard to bring it down to a very small scale model. It would be the hardest part of the program, totally.
The names of all the people who played the game at each show were put into the draw for 2 Commodore 64 personal computers. Newcastle show contestant Brendan Frost from Thornton was declared the winner. From the Maitland show, Edna McKendry from Bulwarra will take home her prize.
Despite that, this year the board is conducting the largest number of show cause inquiries ever in Newcastle. Starting on Monday and ending this afternoon, the board heard 8 cases involving 7 different builders. The board is the only body in the building industry that regulates builders themselves, and their role is to protect the consumer against defective workmanship. While in Newcastle, they're gathering evidence, which will be considered by the board as a whole. The cases are of varying degrees of seriousness.
Well, most of the cases to date have resulted from complaints about generally defective work. They've ranged from large building projects through to swimming pool complaints.
So what sort of problems can people encounter when they're contracting builders?
Well, of course, I suppose the problems are largely limitless. There can be problems of communication between the 2 parties. There can be problems with the consumer not understanding the implications of the contract. There can be problems with defective workmanship, problems with defective materials. The thing about it is, if a problem does arise, then the consumer should contact the Builders Licensing Board to help to get the thing straightened out.
So from the hearings, would you say that the consumers in the Hunter Valley really have any reason for concern when they are getting builders in?
Well, no, certainly not. Not from the hearings we've conducted at the moment. Certainly wouldn't give grounds for general alarm about the standard of building in the Hunter.
The rally drew around 500 parents, childcare workers and preschoolers, too young to understand why, but eager to lend their considerable presence to the fight. Drawings of children decorated Martin Plaza, according to organisers, as a symbol that the government has abandoned them. Some parents took their children to work with them, while 60 daycare centres in Sydney closed their doors for the day. In Newcastle, staff and children at Hamilton Daycare Centre protested against the $10 million cuts. Set down in last year's budget, they will take effect from the 1st of next month, leading to a reduction in the federal government's operation subsidy to centres.
The government's policy is to expand childcare places to 20,000 extra childcare places over the next 3 years, but to at the same time bring cuts in that mean a decreased quality in the existing childcare services, I think is a contradiction.
Staff at centres claim the worst affected will be moderate income families.
Moderate income parents on, say, a combined gross family income of $35,000 will have to pay an increased fee of around $25 per week, which they can ill afford.
While centres in Newcastle say they will not be forced to close, staff argue that more parents will now look elsewhere for cheaper and less structured forms of childcare.
As the cast, crew and audience gathered in the Civic Playhouse foyer for the after-show celebrations, it seemed the opening night of a happy and holy occasion had been a great success. The production, which opens the 1986 season, also neatly rounds off the first 10 tumultuous years of the theatre company. During the first year, A Happy and Holy Occasion was given its world premiere. It was written by Newcastle playwright John O'Donoghue about an Irish Catholic family living in Mayfield in 1942. In the 1976 production, A Happy and Holy Occasion was directed by the theatre company's first artistic director, Terry Clark, who was also the motivating force behind the theatre company's establishment. As Terry and one of the original cast members, Robert Alexander, remembers, the original play, like the theatre company, almost didn't get a start.
It was one vote at the board meeting in favour of continuing. And thank God we did, because it is a great play.
It is yes, a really great play that has now been done elsewhere in Australia and certainly should be done, I think, overseas.
You must be very happy to be at the 10th birthday.
I'm delighted.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
The cast of this production includes Helen Morse and Nick Enright, who starred in Private Lives together, Vic Rooney and John Strait. With smiles all round, the birthday production was celebrated with a cake, cut by Terry Clark, present artistic director Brett McGregor, and former Lord Mayor Joy Cummings.
Today's monthly meeting of the local branch of the Police Association voted to send several motions to their state executive to be raised when they meet Police Minister George Paciulo tomorrow. The main motion centred around a call for quick solutions to what the Newcastle branch says is a problem of numbers.
The decision, as far as we're concerned, is that we're prepared to give our minister a week to come up with some solution to our problem of staffing here in Newcastle. We have a real problem that we're some 32 down on our list as we see it at the moment, that we're actually absent from the area on our authorised strength. And that's a real problem.
The association is distressed because the shortage is worst at 5 stations centred around Newcastle headquarters. They're further angered because not only are they well short of the authorised number, but also they say that that figure is out of date and should be a lot more. They say the problem is severely interfering with police carrying out their duties, and say the effects are numerous, from lengthy delays in police attending incidents to no regular patrols and additional strain on staffing.
So how serious an issue is this one to the police force?
Well, it's real serious right across the board. If we look at our stress situation alone through the shortage of staff, we've had as many as 900 men off from New South Wales in one day, and almost all stress related. And we can only put that down to the working conditions.
Traditionally, the association has not been a militant one, but they say action may result if they don't get a suitable answer from the minister.
But I do see initiatives that would affect the government and affect this state as such, as we've, the most recent one was the press the other day, as far as the warrants and the on-the-spot fines. That would affect the cash flow to the government, and we would believe that the government almost functions on a daily basis on the cash flow from the police force.
While the new alignment of the New England Highway over the Hunter River nears completion, many residents of Singleton have already found fault with Department of Main Road planning. Bridgeman is a major arterial road feeding Singleton Heights. Residents believe its intersection with the new highway will require traffic lights, and that those lights should be installed for the opening of the highway.
Once the road's open, if the department don't come to their senses and put lights in, the volume of traffic at the intersection, that's 14,000 vehicles using the New England Highway and 5,700 using Bridgeman Road, that volume of traffic with no traffic signals is a warrant for certain accidents, and we, please God, no deaths. There will be accidents there for sure.
What sort of response have you had from the DMR and the state government?
Both are completely inflexible. They have said to us that if it warrants it after the new bridge is open, they will put traffic signals in, but not until then. We say it should be done prior to the opening of the bridge, just to make sure that there are no accidents, which we feel is going to happen if they don't go ahead and put the signals there.
great honour for what I'm getting
Emma
done
Smith
for me.
is 106 years old and says she's still enjoying a healthy and happy life.
So many
Born in
people.
1879 and then married at the age of 21, Emma settled for most of her life in Armidale and moved to the Newcastle area in 1952. After living what she describes as a hard life, today was Emma's day to be spoiled. And who better to shower the fair lady with gifts than Minister for Community Services, Peter Anderson.
You need a big kiss too? Good on you. Yeah. I bought it.
For a young lady.
Yeah, that's right. I've met two lovely ladies this week. I've got you and the Queen.
Despite her failing eyesight and hearing, Emma's character is both friendly and sprightly, and speaks lovingly of her favourite pop star. Emma says that the secret of life is to love one another, but says she's also been helped along the way by a very special recipe.
Well, a new white loaf, 2 teaspoons of brandy, and a little warm water, about a tablespoon of warm water, and a bit of sugar.
And it seemed the minister was all ears when he presented her with the most important ingredient in the long life brew.
Well, that's very handy.
Don't want you getting up there any mischief with that. But
That might last me 6 months.
we better get you a bigger glass. We'll put that somewhere too.
Mr Murray was in Cessnock for the annual general meeting of the National Party and as the guest of Alderman John Turner. Mr Turner lost no time in raising an issue which he says has made Cessnock the laughing stock of the region, the state of its roads. Mr Murray is National Party spokesman for that portfolio. He says Cessnock's roads are the worst in New South Wales and predictably is quick to lay the blame at the state government's door.
I think there's got to be recognition by the New South Wales government that the New South Wales government, has to put some money into roads. They're presently taking $230 million this year out of the pocket of the motorist and not contributing 1 cent back to our road system. It's all coming out of the motorist's pocket, and they've got to put the lot back into the road system.
How large Mr Murray says schemes like the state government's Newcastle Region Road Improvement Program are ineffective.
But isn't it inevitable that highways will be upgraded before the main roads?
Well, the theory is, of course, you upgrade the highways and eventually the money gets to the main roads. We've got 200 years coming up and we're seeing bitumen roads going back to gravel, so it's not working the way it should.
It's not hard to see how the missing yachtsman sailed himself into troubles at around 4 yesterday afternoon. A 3-metre swell and southerly winds of up to 30 knots made light work of the 7-metre folk boat and hurled her onto this spit at the end of Soldiers Beach. An extensive air and sea search continued until 11 last night and resumed at 7 this morning. Police spent today scanning the beach and water from the entrance north to Birdie Beach, but found nothing. So far, all that is known about the man is that he apparently stole the boat from its moorings at Brooklyn on the Hawkesbury River sometime on Sunday night. Making its way up the coast, the yacht was first sighted in difficulties near the entrance, as Soldiers Beach lifeguard Barry Odewan explains.
About 3:25 yesterday afternoon, I received a phone call from the beach at North Entrance and was notified to keep an eye out for a small yacht heading north.
Do you think that the yachtsman could have got off the boat and onto land?
Well, no, not from the way it was hit, and it was being pushed mast first into the beach. So if he did go off, he would have went underneath the boat. And also, when we did arrive on the scene, the boat had just been washed up onto the beach, and there was some fishermen in the area, and they said that they did not see anyone leave the boat.
Police expect to resume the search at first light tomorrow, but at this stage they hold grave fears for the yachtsman's safety.